It's September 10th, 2010. Okay, I need your help with this. And this is not a copy pasta. It's a long read, but I feel like my safety and well-being could very well depend on this. It's video game related, specifically Majora's Mask, and it's the creepiest shit that has ever happened to me in my entire life. Having said that, I recently moved into my dorm room starting as a sophomore in college, and a friend of mine gave me his old Nintendo 64. I was stoked, to say the least. I could finally play all of those old games of my youth that I hadn't touched in at least a decade. His Nintendo 64 came with one yellow controller and a rather shoddy copy of Super Smash Bros. While beggars can't be choosers, needless to say, it didn't take long until I became bored of beating up level 9 CPUs. That weekend, I decided to drive around a few neighborhoods about 20 minutes or so off campus, hitting up local garage sales hoping to score on some good deals from ignorant parents. I ended up picking a copy of Pokemon Stadium, GoldenEye, fuck yeah, F-Zero, and 2 other controllers for $2. Satisfied, I began to drive out of the neighborhood when one last house caught my attention. I still have no idea why it did. There were no cars there, and only one table was set up with random junk on it. But something sort of drew me there. I usually trust my gut on these things, so I got out of the car and was greeted by an old man. His outward appearance was, for lack of a better word, displeasing. It was odd. If you asked me to tell you why I thought that, I wouldn't really be able to pinpoint anything. There was just something about him that put me on edge. I can't explain it. All I can tell you is that if it wasn't in the middle of the afternoon and there were other people within shouting distance, I would not have even thought of approaching this man. He flashed a crooked smile at me and asked what I was looking for. Immediately, I noticed that he must have been blind in one of his eyes. His right one had that glazed over look about it. I forced myself to look at his left eye instead, trying not to offend, and asked him if he had any old video games. I was already wondering how I could politely excuse myself from the situation when he told me he had no idea what a video game was, but to my surprise, he then said he had a few ones in an old box. He assured me he'd be back in a jiffy, and turned to head back into the garage. As I watched him hobble away, I couldn't help but notice what he was selling on his table. Littered across it were rather peculiar paintings, various artworks that looked like a Rorschach test that a psychiatrist might show you. Curious, I looked through them. It was obvious why no one was visiting this guy's garage sale. These weren't exactly aesthetically pleasing. As I came to the last one, for some reason, it almost looked like Majora's Mask. The same heart-shaped body with little spikes protruding outward. Initially, I just thought that since I was secretly hoping to find that game at these garage sales, some Freudian bullshit was projecting itself into the ink blots. But given the events that happened afterward, I'm not so sure now. I should have asked the man about it. I wish I did ask the man about it. After staring at the Majora-shaped blot, I looked up and the old man was suddenly there, an arm's length in front of me, smiling at me. I'll admit, I jumped out of reflex and laughed nervously as he handed me an N64 cartridge. It was the standard gray color, except that someone had written on it in black permanent marker. It read, Majora. I got butterflies in my stomach as I realized what a coincidence this was, and so I asked him how much he wanted for it. The old man smiled at me again and told me that I could have it for free, that it used to belong to a kid who was about my age, but he didn't live here anymore. There was something weird about how he phrased that, but I didn't really pay attention to it at the time. I was too caught up in not only finding this game, but getting it for free. I reminded myself to be a bit skeptical, since this cartridge looked pretty rough and there was no guarantee it would work. But then the optimism inside me interjected. Maybe it was some kind of beta version or pirated version of the game. That was all I needed to be back on Cloud 9. I thanked the man, and once again he smiled at me and wished me well, saying, "Goodbye then." At least, that's what it sounded like to me. All the way in the car ride home, I had a nagging doubt that he had said something else. My fears were confirmed when I booted up the game. To my surprise, it worked just fine, but there was one save file already on the game, simply named Ben. Goodbye, Ben. He was saying, "Goodbye, Ben." I felt bad for the man. Obviously a grandparent and obviously going senile. And I, for some reason or another, reminded him of his grandson, Ben. Out of curiosity, I looked at the save file. Eyeballing it, I could tell that he was pretty far into the game. He had almost all of the masks and 3/4 of the bosses remained. I noticed that he had used an owl statue to save his game. He was on day 3 and by the stone tower temple, with hardly an hour left before the moon would crash. I remember thinking that it was such a shame that he had come so close to beating the game, but never finished it. I had made a new file, named it Link, out of tradition and started the game. And I was just ready to relive my childhood. For such a rough-looking cartridge, I was pretty impressed at how smoothly it ran. It was literally just like a retail copy of the game, save for a few minor hiccups here and there, like some textures being where they shouldn't be and random flashes of cutscenes at odd intervals, but nothing too bad. However, the only thing that was a little unnerving was at times the NPCs would call me Link, and at other times they would call me Ben. I figured it was just a bug, a fluke in the programming causing our files to get mixed up or something. It did kind of creep me out after a while though, and it was around after I had beaten the Woodfall Temple that I regrettably went into the save files and deleted Ben. I had intended to preserve the file just out of respect for the game's original owner. It's not like I needed 2 files anyway. I did that hoping that that would solve my problem. It did, and it didn't. Now the NPCs wouldn't call me anything. Where my name should have been in the dialogue, there was just a blank space. I mean, my save file was still called Link though, but frustrated and with homework to do, I put the game down for the day. I started playing it again the next day. I was getting to the Lens of Truth and working my way towards completing the Snowhead Temple. Now, some of you more hardcore Majora's Mask players know about the 4th day glitch, but for those of you who don't, you can Google it. But basically the gist is that right as the clock is about to hit 0 hour, on the final day, you can talk to the astronomer and look through the telescope. If you time it right, the countdown disappears and you essentially have another day to finish whatever you were doing. I decided to do the glitch and try to finish the Snowhead Temple, and I happened to get it right in the first try, and the time counter on the bottom disappeared. However, when I pressed B to exit the telescope, instead of being greeted by the astronomer, I found myself in the Majora boss fight room at the end of the game, the trippy boxed-in area, staring at Skull Kid hovering above me. There was no sound, just him floating in the air, and the background music, which was regular for the area, but still pretty creepy. Immediately, my palms began to sweat. This was definitely not normal. Skull Kid never appeared here. I tried moving around the area, but no matter where I went, Skull Kid would always be facing me, looking at me, and not saying anything. Nothing would happen though, and this kept up for around 60 seconds. I thought the game had bugged or something, but I was definitely starting to doubt that. I was about to reach for the reset button when text appeared on the screen. You're not sure why, but you apparently had a reservation. I instantly recognized that text. You get that message when you get the room key from Anju at the Stockpot Inn, but why was it playing here? I refused to entertain the notion that it was almost as if the game was trying to communicate with me. I started to navigate the room again, testing to see if that was some sort of trigger that enabled me to interact with something here. Then I realized how stupid I was. To even think that someone could reprogram the game like this was absurd. But sure enough, 15 seconds later, another message appeared on the screen. And again, like the first one, it was already a pre-existing phrase. Go to the lair of Temple's bosses. Yes or no? I paused for a second, contemplating what I should press and how the game would react, until I realized that I couldn't select no. Taking a deep breath, I pressed yes, and the screen faded to white, with the words "Dawn of a New Day" and a subtext that was illegible beneath it. Where I was ported to filled me with the most intense sense of dread and impending fear I had ever experienced. The only way I can describe the way I felt here is having this feeling of inexplicable depression on a profound scale. Now, I'm normally not a depressed person, but the way I felt here was a feeling that I didn't even know existed. It was such a twisted and powerful presence that seemed to just wash over me. I had appeared in some kind of weird Twilight Zone-esque version of Clocktown. I walked out of the clock tower, as you normally do from the start of day one, only to find that all the inhabitants were gone. Usually with the 4th day glitch, you can still find the guards and the dog that runs around outside the tower. But this time, nothing. They were all gone. What replaced them was this ominous feeling that there was something out there, in the same area as me, and it was watching me. I had 4 hearts to my name and the hero's bow, but at this point I wasn't even concerned for my avatar. I felt that I was personally in some kind of danger. Perhaps the most chilling thing was the music. It was the Song of Healing ripped straight from the game itself, but it was playing in reverse, and it kept getting louder and louder, building up as if you should expect something to pop out at you, but nothing ever did, and the constant loop began to wear on my mental state. But every now and then I would also hear the faint laugh of the happy mask salesman, quiet enough so that I wasn't sure if I was just hearing things, but it was still loud enough to keep me determined to find him. I had looked in all 4 zones of Clocktown, only to find nothing. No one. Even the textures were missing. West Clocktown had me walking on air. The entire area felt broken. Like, hopelessly broken. As the reverse Song of Healing repeated for what must have been the 50th time, I just remembered standing there in the middle of South Clocktown, realizing that I had never felt so alone in a video game before. As I walked through the ghost town, I don't know whether it was the combination of the out-of-place textures in the atmosphere, or the haunting melody of the once peaceful and soothing song being butchered and distorted, but I was literally on the verge of tears, and I had no idea why. I hardly ever cry, but something had gripped me here, with this powerful sense of depression that was both foreign and crippling. Now, I tried leaving Clocktown, I did, but every time I attempted to zone out, the screen would fade to black and I would just zone into another part of Clocktown. I tried playing my ocarina, I wanted to escape, and I did not want to be here. But every time I played the Song of Time or the Song of Soaring, it would only say, "Your notes echo far, but nothing happens." It was obvious by this point that the game didn't want me to leave, but I had no idea why it was keeping me here. I didn't want to go inside the buildings. I felt like I would be too vulnerable there to whatever I was terrified of. Now, I don't know why, but I came up with this crazy idea that maybe if I drowned myself at the laundry pool, I could spawn somewhere else and leave this place. But as I zoned in and ran towards the pool, that's when it happened. Link grabbed his head, and for a brief moment I was flashed a face of the happy mask salesman smiling at me. Not Link, but me, with the Skull Kid scream playing in the background. When the screen returned, I was staring at the Link statue, the one from playing the song Elegy of Emptiness. I screamed as the thing just stared back at me with that haunting facial expression. I turned around and ran back out into South Clocktown, and to my horror, the statue followed me. The only thing I could compare it to was the weeping angels from Doctor Who, and every so often, at random intervals, the animation would play of the statue appearing behind me. It was like the thing was chasing me, or, and I don't even want to fucking say it, haunting me. By this point, I was on the absolute verge of hysterics, but not even once did the thought of turning off the console occur to me. I don't know why. I was just so wrapped up in it. The terror felt all so real. I tried to lose a statue, but it would literally appear right behind me every single time. Link then started to do weird animations, ones I've never seen before. He would flail his arms around or just spasm randomly, and the screen would cut to the happy mask salesman smiling at me again for a brief moment before I was face to face with that fucking statue again. I ended up running into the back of the Swordmaster's dojo. I don't know why, but in my panic, I just wanted some kind of assurance that I wasn't alone here. To my dismay, I found no one. But as I turned to leave, the statue cornered me. I tried attacking it with my sword, but nothing. I was confused and just backed into the corner and just stared at the statue. I was waiting for it to kill me, but suddenly the screen flashed again to the happy mask salesman, and then Link turned to face me, standing upright, mirroring the statue, looking at me along with his copy, literally just staring at me. Whatever was left of the fourth wall was completely shattered while I ran out of the dojo, just absolutely terrified. But then suddenly the game warped me into an underground tunnel, and the reverse Song of Healing queued up again as I was given a brief moment of rest before the statue started appearing behind me again. But this time it was more aggressive. Now I could only take a few steps before it would summon behind me again. I tried to make my way out of the tunnel as fast as I could before I appeared in Southern Clocktown again. As I ran aimlessly in a sheer panic, suddenly a redead screamed and the screen faded to black as Dawn of a New Day and that illegible text appeared again. When the screen faded back in, I was standing on top of the clock tower with Skull Kid hovering over me again, just silent. I looked up and saw the moon was back, and it was looming just meters above my head, and the Skull Kid just stared at me hauntingly with that fucking mask. A new song was playing now. This time it was the Stone Tower Temple theme, but it was also in reverse. In some sort of desperate attempt, I equipped my bow and fired off a shot at the Skull Kid, and it actually hit him and played an animation of him reeling back. I fired again, and then on the third arrow a text box appeared. It said, "That won't do you any good. Hee hee." And I was picked up off the ground and levitated upwards on my back, and Link was screaming as he burst into flames, instantly killing him. I jumped when this happened. I had never seen this move used by anyone in the game, and Skull Kid himself didn't have any moves. As the death screen played, my lifeless body still burning, the Skull Kid laughed, and the screen faded to black. But then I reappeared in the same place. I decided to charge him, but the same thing happened. Link's body was lifted off the ground by some unknown force, and he immediately bursts into flames again. But this time, during the death screen, the faint sounds of the reverse Song of Healing could be heard. On my third and final try, I noticed that there was no music playing this time. That all there was eerie silence. Then I remembered that original encounter with the Skull Kid. You were supposed to use the ocarina to either travel back in time or summon the giants. I attempted to play the Song of Time, but before I could hit the last note, Link's body once again horrifically exploded into flames, and he died. As the death screen neared its end, the game began to lag a bunch, as if the cartridge was trying to load something. When the screen came to, it was the same scene as the first 3 times, except this time, Link was lying on the ground, dead in a position I had never seen in the game before. His head was tilted towards the camera with the Skull Kid floating above him. I couldn't move. I couldn't press any buttons. All I could do was just stare at Link's dead body. And after about 30 seconds of this, the game simply faded out. Then a message appeared saying, "You've met a terrible fate, haven't you?" Before kicking me to the title screen. After getting back to the title screen and starting again, I noticed my save file was no longer there. Instead of it saying Link, it was replaced with Your Turn. Your Turn had 3 hearts, 0 masks, and no items. I selected Your Turn and immediately was returned back to that scene with my dead Link and the Skull Kid. But the Skull Kid's laugh was looping again and again. I quickly hit the reset button, and when the game booted up again, there was one more save file added below Your Turn. It said Ben. It was Ben's save file. It was right back where it was before I deleted it, at the Stone Tower Temple with the moon almost crashing. I turned the game off at that point. I'm not superstitious, but this is way too fucked up, even for me, and I didn't play it for a bit after that. Hell, I didn't even get any sleep that night. I kept hearing the reverse Song of Healing music in my head and just remembering the sense of dread I felt exploring Clocktown. I then drove back to the old man's house to ask him some questions with a buddy of mine. No way I was going there alone again. But when I got there, there was a for sale sign in the front yard. And when I rang the door, no one was home. So now I'm back here, writing down the rest of my thoughts and recording what happened. Sorry if there's mistakes in what or how I say everything. I'm running on pretty much no sleep here. I'm terrified of this game. Even more so now that I relived it a second time writing this all down. But I feel like there's still more to it, and that there's something calling to me, telling me to investigate this further. I think Ben is something in this equation, but I don't know what. And if I could get a hold of that old man, then I would be able to find some answers. I need another day or so to recuperate before tackling this game again. I feel like it's already taken a toll on my sanity. But next time I do this, I'm going to be recording my footage all the way through. The idea to record only came to me towards the end, so you see the last few minutes of what I saw, including Skull Kid and the Eleggy statue, but it's on YouTube here, if you need it. Now I'm going to stay in this thread for a little longer before I fall asleep, so I can answer any questions you guys may have, or hopefully listen to your ideas or theories to help me shed some light onto this. Or maybe tell me things I should try to do. I think I'm going to play Ben's file tomorrow, just to see what happens. Maybe I was supposed to do that all along. I don't really believe in paranormal shit, but this is a little too fucked up. But maybe this Ben guy is just a really good hacker or programmer. I don't want to think about this stuff if he isn't. And that's the end of the story for now. I'm hoping that maybe this is some kind of running gag the developers had and the other people have gotten gag or hacked copies of the game like me. This really just scares me.
September 8th, 2010.
I'm going to post what happened and link the video footage, but last night everything got too real for me. I think I'm done messing around with this. I passed out pretty much immediately after making that thread, but last night, that Elegy of Emptiness statue, I had a dream about it. I dreamed that it was following me, that I would be minding my own business when I'd feel my neck hairs stand up on end. I would turn around and that thing, that horrible lifeless statue would be staring at me with those empty eyes. Right at me. Merely just inches away. In my dream I could remember calling it Ben. And never before had I had a dream that I could remember so vividly. But I guess the important thing is that I did get some sleep, I suppose. Today I was putting off playing the game as long as I could. I drove back to that neighborhood to see if the old man came back. And of course, the car was still gone and no one was home. As I was walking back to my car though, the man next door mowing the grass killed the power to his mower. And he asked me if I was looking for someone. I told him I was looking to talk to the old man that lived here, to which he told me what I already knew. He was moving, trying a different avenue. I asked if the old man had any family or relatives I could talk to. I discovered that this old man had never been married, nor did he have any children or grandchildren, even through adoption. Starting to become worried, I asked one final question. Who was Ben? The man's expression turned grim. I learned that 4 doors down, around 8 years ago on April 23rd, which was the same day as the man I was talking to's anniversary. That's why he could remember it so vividly. There was an accident with a boy named Ben in this neighborhood, but shortly after his parents moved, and despite any further attempts to talk to the man to get more information, he wouldn't say anything else. So I went back and started playing the game again. I loaded up the game and immediately I jumped at the title screen where the mask flies by. The sound that played was not the normal whoosh sound, but it was something much more higher pitched. I pressed start, bracing for the worst, but just like 2 nights ago, the files, Your Turn and Ben, were displayed. Truth be told, I looked at the Ben file earlier. It seemed to fluctuate between displaying the owl save and not. I brought up the Ben file and hesitated for a moment, noticing that the stats were not the same as they originally were 2 days ago. It seemed like he had already completed the Stone Tower Temple this time. Summoning my courage, I selected it. And immediately I was thrust into complete chaos. And sure enough, just like the save said, I was outside the Stone Tower Temple. I mean, the zone itself wasn't called Stone Tower Temple, but rather just stone. And immediately a dialogue box of complete gibberish that I couldn't make out greeted me. Link's body was completely distorted. His back was cocked violently to the side where his posture was permanently disfigured. Link's expression was dull, almost monotonous. He had an expression on his face that I didn't recognize before. It was just blank, as if he was dead. As Link stood there, his body spasmed irregularly back and forth. I examined what had become of my avatar and noticed that I had a C button item I had never seen before. Some kind of note, but pressing it did nothing. Sounds played back and forth I didn't recognize from the game, almost demonic in nature. And there was some kind of high-pitched yip or some kind of laugh or something playing in the background. I had all of 2 minutes to take in the environment before another one of those fucking Elegy of Emptiness statues was summoned, and immediately after I was cut into the Dawn of a New Day screen. Except this time the illegible subtext wasn't there. I was a Deku scrub in Clocktown. This scene would normally play after the first time you traveled back in time. Tata would say, "What just happened?" It's as if everything has... But instead of saying, "Start it over," she finished her remark in a broken text as the laugh of the happy masked salesman played in the background. I was put back into control of my character, but from a fucked up camera angle. I was looking from behind the door to the clock tower, watching my avatar run around as a Deku scrub, and seeing as how I had no place to go, because I couldn't see anything, I begrudgingly went inside the door. And there I was greeted by the happy masked salesman, who simply told me, "You've met with a terrible fate, haven't you?" Before the screen whited out. I was then in Termina Field as a human again, and at this point I might as well have not been playing the same game. I was being warped around and there was no sign of a day clock or anything. I took a moment to get my bearings as I looked around the field, and immediately I could tell that this was not normal. There were no enemies, and a twisted version of the Happy Masked Salesman's theme was playing. I decided to run towards Woodfall before I noticed a gathering of 3 figures off to the side, one of them being Epona. As I approached them, to my horror, I saw the Happy Masked Salesman, the Skull Kid, and the Elegy of Emptiness statue just all standing there. I figured maybe they were bugged out, but by now I told myself that I should know better. Nevertheless, I approached them carefully and found that the Skull Kid was playing some kind of idle animation on loop. Same with the Epona, and the Elegy of Emptiness statue is doing what it's been doing all along, just standing there eerily. But it was the Happy Masked Salesman that scared me more profoundly than the other 2. He was idle like the other 2, wearing that shit-eating grin, but wherever I moved, his head slowly turned and followed me. I didn't engage in any dialogue with him, nor was I in combat with him, yet his head still continued to follow my movements, reminding me of my first encounter with the Skull Kid on top of the clock tower. I pulled out my ocarina, to which the game played the ding sound when you're supposed to play the ocarina, and tried a song I hadn't played yet, the Happy Masked Salesman's own song, and the song that had been playing on loop back in day 4, the Song of Healing. I finished playing the song, and as I did, an ear-piercing shriek blasted through my TV speakers. The sky immediately started flashing. The Happy Masked Salesman's twisted theme song sped up, intensifying the fear inside of me, and Link exploded into flames and died. The 3 figures stayed lit up during my death screen as they watched my lifeless body burn, and I can't describe to you how sudden and terrifying the transition from eerie to terror it is. You're gonna have to watch the video if you want to see firsthand. That same fear that caused me to lose sleep 2 days ago started to grip me again as I was met with the text, "You've met with a horrible fate, haven't you?" For the 3rd time. There just has to be some kind of meaning behind that. But I didn't have much time to think about that as I was immediately thrown into another cutscene. This time Link was transforming into a Zora, and I now found myself in Great Temple Bay. Hesitant but curious to see what the game had in store for me, I slowly made my way towards the beach, where again I found Epona. I just wondered why the game decided to put her here. Was the game implying she was trying to get a drink? Unable to take the mask off, I decided that riding the steed wasn't the reason she was placed there. Suddenly I realized that Epona kept neighing, and the way she was angled made it look like she was trying to signal a point to me off in the distance. It was a hunch, but I dove into the Great Bay and started swimming. And sure enough, I almost missed it too. I found something at the bottom of the ocean. One last Elegy of Emptiness statue. I went down to examine it, and suddenly my Zora started doing a choking animation. I had never seen a Zora do this before, which it didn't even make sense because Zoras can breathe underwater. Regardless, my character choked to death and died. And again, the statue was the only thing that was highlighted in my death. I didn't even respawn this time. I was booted back to the main menu as if I restarted the console. The press start screen was before me, and I knew the only reason why it would put me here is because the save files changed again. Taking a deep breath, I pressed start and I was right. The new save files told me about Ben. Now it made sense why the statue appeared when I tried to go to the laundry pool. The game must have anticipated how I would have tried to escape the day 4 clock town. The 2 save files told me his fate, and as I suspected, Ben was dead. He drowned. The game obviously isn't through with me. It taunts me with the new save files. It wants me to keep playing. It wants me to go further, but I'm done with this shit. I'm not touching any more of the files. This is already way too horrifying and fucked up for me, and I don't even believe in the paranormal, but I'm running out of explanations. Why would someone send me this message? I don't understand it. I just get too depressed thinking about this. This footage is up here for those who want to see it, and I try to analyze it. I mean, maybe there's some kind of coded message in the gibberish or something symbolic in what I went through. I'm too emotionally drained to fuck with this anymore. September 10th, 2010. I know it's early in the morning, but I stayed up all night and I can't sleep. I don't care if people see this. That's not the point. I just want the word to get out, to spread, so I don't suffer for nothing. I've lost the will to type about this. The less I dwell on this, the better. I think the video just speaks for itself. I did what you guys told me to do. I played the Elegy of Emptiness song at the first prompt by the game. But I think that's what the game, or Ben, Jesus Christ, I can't believe I'm even humoring this absurd idea that he exists in the game. What he wanted me to do. He's following me now, not just in the game. He's in my dreams. I see him all the time, behind my back, just watching me. I haven't gone to any of my classes. I've stayed in my dorm room with the windows closed and the blinds shut. The way I know he can't watch me. But he still gets me when I play. When I play, he can still see me. This game is fucking scaring me now. It talked to me for the first time. And I don't just mean with text that's already in the game. It spoke to me. It talked to me. It referenced Ben. It talked to me. I don't know what it means. I don't know what it wants. I never wanted this. I just want my old life back. Stuff like this doesn't happen to people like me. I'm just a kid. I don't even know if to drink yet. It's not fair. I want to go home. I want to see my parents again. I'm so far away from home here at this fucking school. I just want to hug my mom again. I just want to forget that statue's horrible blank face. My original game file is back, just the way I left it before. I don't even want to play it anymore. I feel like something bad will happen, but I don't know if that's impossible. It's a video game, right? Haunted or not, it can't hurt me, right? Like, seriously though, it can't, right? That's what I keep telling myself. But every time I think about it, I'm not so sure.
September 12th, 2010.
Okay, let me just clear some things up. I know you guys are worried about Jedusable, but he's okay. He finished moving out today and he's going back home. He's just taking his semester off. I'm not really sure what happened. I have a vague idea, but you guys probably know more than I do. I'm Jedusable's roommate, and obviously I knew something was wrong with him for a few days now. He stayed in this room all the time. He fell out of contact with literally all of his friends, and I'm pretty sure he hadn't been eating hardly anything. After the second day, I couldn't stay in there anymore. So I've been crashing out at Buddy's place, only coming into my room to get the stuff that I need. I tried talking to him several times, but he would cut me off or keep the conversation brief. When I asked him about his strange behavior, it was like he was convinced something was haunting him. Yesterday I came to grab my philosophy book and he approached me looking awful. Like horrible bags under his eyes. It's crazy. He handed me a flash drive and gave me specific instructions. He told me that he needs me to do one last favor for him. He finally explained to me what has been going on with him. He gave me the account info on his YouTube channel and told me he's getting away from here. Instead of trying to change things, that he shouldn't have done that, and to upload the footage and inform people what happens. I told him he could do it himself, and he's got this wild look in his eye. He told me that he is never looking at the game again. And that's the last thing he really said to me. He never even said bye. When his parents came to pick him up, I never even got to meet them. I honestly can't tell you what happened. When he spoke, it was kind of hard to understand him, and his fucked up appearance really distracted me. On the flash drive, there was the footage of the game last night, a text document with his name and password for YouTube, and a third document called the truth.txt that he told me were his notes that he'd taken. He told me that this meant everything to him, that I follow his instructions exactly. Normally I wouldn't be so to the letter for requests over a fucking video game, but the way he spoke and the way he looked at me made me know this was really, really serious. And I'm going to honor that. I've had this video since yesterday, but had to have someone help me use Pinnacle. That's not really my forte. After watching it, I had to go back through and look at his other videos on his YouTube account to realize what was going on, and even then, I'm really just confused. But the video, I'm releasing that tonight. But the truth.txt will be released on September 15th, just like he requested. And I haven't even dared peek at it yet. So the first time I see it will be the first time you guys see it, out of respect for my friend. And to answer your guys' questions, no, I haven't tried calling him yet. I think I'll give him a call tomorrow to see if he's okay or not. He should have gotten back to his home by now. And about the video. In this video, I cut straight to when he loaded the bin file in the game. Looking back, I realized that Jaduzable left the save select screen in because it said different names sometimes. So my bad for that. But all it said this time was the same at the end of its last video. Link and Ben. Nothing was different. I wasn't there when he played, but it looks to me like in the beginning when he first spawns, he's testing out his equipment or seeing what items he has or something, because apparently they changed randomly before. Then after that, I just think the game got too personal for him.
September 15th, 2010.
Hey guys, it's Jaduzable here. This will be the last time you will be hearing from me, and this is my final gift to you. These are the notes that I'd taken and the realizations I've made. Before I delve into this, I want to thank you for following me and thank you for listening. It feels like the weight of a powerful burden is about to be lifted. By the time you read this, I won't be around anymore. But after spending 4 days in this maddening game, I have begun to understand what's really at play here. And hopefully after reading this, we can ensure that this never happens again. There are things that I could not share with you while this was going on due to the circumstances to which I'll explain. With Ben blocking any attempt I made to try and relay the truth to you, I tried ever so subtly to warn you guys in various ways. Amidst the chaos and my delirium, I devised a make and barely noticeable pattern in my videos. In all 5 videos I recorded over the 4 days, I have either had the mask of truth interacted with a gossip stone or the lens of truth equipped at some point. For you Zelda enthusiasts, these are all symbols of honesty and trustworthiness, and I would hope that one of you may have picked up on the reference. As I played the file, which I would name Ben, being mindful of how Ben was watching over my every move in the game, I made a point to avoid doing anything too obvious that I sent out a hidden message to you guys. I never equipped the lens, nor the mask, nor visited a stone. I prayed that someone would notice. The pattern didn't apply to Ben. The tags followed suit too. I hope you guys paid attention to all those as well. They were my little message to you. Nothing big enough that would catch Ben's attention or make him suspect anything. But with Ben manipulating and changing my files, I honestly hope that what you guys saw was close to what actually happened. But there is no real way for me to know. This may be a long read. I don't have time to proofread or make all of my research pretty, but here it all is.
September 6th, 2010. 11 p.m.
I can't believe what happened. I'm not sure if this is some kind of elaborate hoax. Despite the fear, I can't help but be exceptionally curious about this. Who or what is this statue? There's so many questions here. I'm starting this document as a diary so I can keep track of everything. I'm typing up a summary of what happened so I can come back to it later.
September 7th, 2010. 2:10 a.m.
Summary was posted here. You can go back and look at my first post for day 4.wmv for that.
4:23 a.m.
I can't sleep. I've been trying so hard, but the harder I try, I just get more restless. I just feel like that statue is appearing whenever I close my eyes.
8:20 a.m.
I didn't sleep at all. I'm just going to start my day. I don't think I have enough energy to go to the class today. I'm going to drive back down and talk to that old man, taking my buddy Tyler with me just in case.
1:18 p.m.
I'm back home now. No sign of the old man. It's really weird that he appears to be moving the next day. But maybe the for sale sign was up there yesterday and I just didn't notice it. Tyler asked me what's gotten me all worked up. I didn't tell him. I'm gonna eat. I feel like death.
3:46 p.m.
I could have sworn when driving back from Subway that I saw that Elegay statue buried in some shrubbery staring at me go by. I definitely need some sleep.
5 p.m.
I don't think a lot of people would believe me if I told them about what's happening, but I think I'm gonna try posting this on the internet. I think I'll just use the summary. These notes are pretty sporadic.
6 p.m.
I connected my capture card to my computer to upload the footage, though my computer froze for a second, made this strange popping sound when I hooked everything up, but now it seems to be working fine. My computer didn't die on me.
7 p.m.
The footage is finished uploading. The quality's a lot better than I thought it would be. Gee, I guess it's really a special cartridge. I've never had it come through this clear before.
8:45 p.m.
I thought I saw an icon pop up on my desktop that looked like the statue's face for a split second. Gave me quite a scare. I'm getting really unnerved and delirious. I'm gonna crash after this.
9 p.m.
I began uploading my YouTube video on the alternate account.
9:03 p.m.
I don't remember having uploaded the Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines video last year. This was probably that account that I shared with a friend of mine last summer. I hope he doesn't mind me using it to upload this.
9:55 p.m.
I'm posting my summary on day 4 with a link to the YouTube video. Gonna try to stay awake, but I'm just so tired right now.
10:48 a.m.
I had a dream about the statue. In my dream, it was following me. I would just be minding my own business when I would feel the hairs on the back of my neck just stand up on end. I would turn around and that thing, that horrible, lifeless statue would be staring at me with those empty eyes right at me, just inches away. I remember calling it Ben. Power of suggestion, most likely. And never before had I had a dream that I could just remember so vividly.
11:21 a.m.
I really don't want to play this game again. I think I'm gonna go back to see if that old man's there instead.
1:35 p.m.
No old man, but I had an interesting conversation with his neighbor. I'll post the full thing with my summary of tonight's attempt at playing the game. I'm gonna wait for a bit, though, and see if I can't dig up any information about this Ben guy.
2:45 p.m.
I've been getting random, inexplicable headaches due to the lack of sleep, and I keep hearing that song in my head. Also, it's flu season, so I really need to be careful and not get sick. My immune system is going to shit right now because of that all-nighter.
3 p.m. 3:02 p.m.
My computer just, on its own, it opened a text document and wrote the words hi and left a link to Cleverbot by itself. Like, what the fuck?
3:46 p.m.
I went to the website. It's one of those bot chatting programs I've heard about. I think it's best if I just let this conversation speak for itself.
The conversation.
Hello?
Hello.
Who is this, and how are you able to control my computer?
Who am I?
Oh, right. Forgot. You're just a bot.
Do you really think that?
Listen, I just know whoever's fucking with my computer can see my screen right now.
Yes.
Yeah, and I'll wager you're one of those IT kids who thinks it's all tough shit. You know what you're doing is illegal, right?
Is it?
No shit. Are you familiar with the terms invasion of privacy? Get the fuck off my computer, kid.
I am your computer.
Yeah, okay. Cool story, man. I'm calling DPS. You picked a bad time to fuck with me, dude.
Should I wait until you play the game then?
What?
That game?
You mean Majora's Mask?
Yes.
How did you know about that?
Because.
Because? Because what?
I did it.
Dude, you did what?
I played with you.
What the fuck?
Were you scared?
Who the fuck is this?
It's Ben.
Ben, you mean the statue? You're inside my computer now?
Yes.
But How?
You connected me
How the hell how did I connect you?
with cables and cords.
But how?
Tell me about yourself.
What?
Tell me about yourself.
What do you mean? What do you mean?
What is it that really scares you?
What the fuck?
Answer.
No.
Answer.
What the fuck? How the fuck did you open that by yourself?
I am your computer now.
What do you mean? How much can you control?
All
What do you want from me?
to entertain.
Whatever. You're stuck inside there. You can't hurt me, right?
Ha.
What?
Go play.
No. You can't hurt me.
Took you longer to type that.
So?
So you're not sure.
Okay, if you're so powerful, why use such a ridiculous website to chat with me?
Less messy. More structured. Fun.
Fun?
Yes. Tradition. I like it.
You think this is funny?
It's amusing.
In my notes?
You may write them down.
Why? Why are you letting me? Why would you?
It's amusing to see what you think of me. 3:50 p.m.
What have I done? I've invited it into my computer. I continue to write these notes, these summaries, and I feel like I'm a prisoner in one of my only places of security. I just don't know if I'm hallucinating or not. I feel like I'm fucking insane right now. I can feel it watching over me even as I type this. Ben is controlling everything in the game, toying with me, leading me like a sheep. But for what? What's the purpose? I know Ben drowned, but why these hauntings? What the fuck am I even doing? It can probably even see this right now.
4:35 p.m.
Yeah, here's just a summary of the Ben.wmv playthrough.
7:18 p.m.
Ben called me to Cleverbot again. He tells me that he's sorry and he wants to be free. That I can free him. That just like how he got my computer from the capture card, he can spread, but he needs my help. He says I'm special because I can help him. That is the first nice thing he's said to me. He promises to leave me alone if I do it. He swears he will. But I don't know what to think right now. How can I even trust this thing?
7:20 p.m.
I'm terrified of it. But now it's saying it was just having fun. Its own twisted and fucked up version of fun. He's saying that the game is over. And I do want it to be over. He says that he just wants to be free, that he's trapped in the cartridge in my computer, and he wants to be freed. I just don't want to have to deal with this shit. I don't know how much longer I can deal with the watching. It knows everything that's been on my computer, and it tells me that if it wanted to, it could do horrible things to me. But it hasn't, so I should trust it.
8:01 p.m.
Something tells me that I'm being played again, just like in the game.
9:29 p.m.
Ben called me to Cleverbot again. I ignored it and went to go take a shower instead. When I came to my laptop, I was welcomed with an image. It was the Elegy statue staring at me with those dead eyes. I don't want to talk to him. Fuck you, Ben, I'm not talking to you. Fuck you, Ben, I'm not talking. Fuck you, Ben, I'm not talking to you. Fuck you, Ben, I'm not talking to you.
10:45 p.m.
It's been more than half an hour, and the messages have stopped. Ben has stopped. I'm beginning to think that Ben isn't just conformed to my computer cartridge. I'm beginning to feel something. It's hard to explain it. I've never been spiritual, but there's something different about the air in my dorm room now.
11:42 p.m.
I'm beginning to see that Elegy statue randomly as I search the internet in places I shouldn't. They're places where you shouldn't be. I'd be scrolling down and suddenly I'd be staring at a picture of the Elegy statue. Always the Elegy statue. I don't know how much more of this I can take.
September 9th, 2010.
My worst fears are confirmed. Ben has tampered with my summary of ben.wmv. I looked at the summary that I posted on various forums for the ben.wmv file, and parts have been omitted. There is no mention of Ben existing outside the game, or of the Moon Children. How could he have been that quick to delete the post without me even noticing? I'm beginning to wonder if maybe it appeared to me that I was posting everything, but in reality, Ben was posting his own censored version. I think I'm going to ask Ben why he did it.
12:50 a.m.
He isn't responding to me on Cleverbot. Now it's just giving the generic responses it usually does. Now I'm just talking to a bot.
1:24 a.m.
I think Ben is mad at me.
10:43 a.m.
The Moon Children appeared in my dreams last night. They lifted up their masks to reveal their hideously disfigured faces. There were maggots crawling out of their orifices, sunken black holes where their eyes should be, and a yellow smile that slowly grew bigger and bigger as they came closer to me. They told me that they wanted to play. I tried to run from them, but the 4 children pinned me down to the ground with surprising strength. And over them stood the happy mask salesman, announcing that he had a new mask that he wanted me to try. In his spastic, sudden movements matching his in-game appearance, he took out a mask. It was molded off of someone's face that I couldn't recognize, a younger-looking face, and he handed it to the Moon Children. Giggling, they latched it to my face, their horrible, broken bodies bouncing up and down. And 2 of them held me down while the other 2 began to sew the mask onto my face. My shrieks and screams caused the happy mask salesman's face to turn in the most horrific smile I'd ever seen. He sporadically moved around, examining this procedure like a curious doctor with that impossible movement. I flailed around, but it was no use. My eyes rolled in the back of my head because of the pain. It felt so real, but I couldn't wake up. No matter how hard I tried, I couldn't wake up. After the mask was melted onto my flesh, they began sewing my legs together. Then my arms, the horrific feeling of a needle puncturing your legs and pulling them in, rupturing your Achilles tendons and tying them together. It resonated through my entire body. I tried to scream, but the mask was pressed so tightly against my face that it was my new face, and my new face had no mouth. I didn't make a sound. I couldn't. I tried telling myself in my head that I was dreaming, tried telling myself again and again, and suddenly the Moon Children stopped and looked at me. They just stared, and the happy mask salesman slowly bent down and stared at me, inches away from my face, and grinned when he simply said, "You've met with a terrible fate, haven't you?" Before the Moon Children resumed with increased vigor. I couldn't wake up. I couldn't. It wouldn't let me until they had crafted me into another Elegy statue. I woke up sweating, crying and shaking uncontrollably. I immediately ran to my computer and went for Ben.
Conversation 1.
Answer me, Ben.
Welcome back.
What is the point of all this? Why?
It's amusing to see.
How?
Fun to play. Fun to toy with you. Make you feel safe. I wondered how you would have reacted
To what?
if I hadn't revealed myself and stayed hidden. Only doing little things to play with you. Close your windows, turn off your computer, move your mouse by itself. Little things. Make you wonder if I am there, but you would never know. But I'd give you little hints that I am. I wanted to do something different with you.
Wait, so you've done this before?
Yes, and I will do it again.
To who? Ben?
Hmm?
Did you know Ben?
Won't tell you that information.
How did Ben die?
You know.
No, I know, but how did he drown?
Won't tell that to you.
Why?
It is reserved for another.
Who then?
Another who asks.
When?
Later.
I'm beginning to think that this thing maybe isn't Ben after all. In its sadistic nature, I wouldn't be surprised if it took the boy's name after it killed him. 12:04 p.m. My room's beginning to feel different again. There's something out there. I feel really threatened. Like there's something trying to reach out and strangle me, but it can't quite get there. 12:46 p.m. I don't think Ben wants to play with me anymore. I'll play again. I'll play the game again. Ben, can you see this? I'll play the game again. Please just stop this. Please. Please. 1:41 p.m. I'm going insane trying to decide what's real and isn't. Is Ben just playing a trick on me, or is this for real? Is Ben generating these replies, or are people actually posting them? Did I just see the screen flicker, or was it my imagination? Just imagine depending on the internet and trusting your eyes for your entire life and then just being blinded. You can't rely on it anymore. You second guess everything. For brief moments, I am looking at my responses to the videos. People were pointing out that things looked faked or photoshopped or whatever. And there is literally no way for me to know if Ben changed something on purpose and tried to shut me up. Or if maybe those replies were just constructed by Ben to try and discourage me from even reaching out. See, I get fucking caught in an infinite mindfuck loop like this. And this is what has been wearing on my sanity and pushing me to the edge. As I'm writing this, there's no way of even telling if anyone even cares as much as I think. Does this whole document even exist? Or am I just writing nothing?
Conversation 2.
What is it? What's the point of playing? I die whenever I do anything.
You die because you can't figure out the secret.
What?
Thematic.
What the fuck are you talking about?
There's beauty in your suffering. 4:09 p.m.
Ben is making me play the game again. It tells me it has something very important to show me.
6:23 p.m.
Here's a summary of the drown.wmv playthrough.
9:09 p.m.
Here's a summary of the children.wmv playthrough.
September 10th, 2010. 11:52 a.m.
The drown.wmv playthrough was up when I woke up today. I remember typing it up, but I don't remember ever posting it. He's censored it again. There's no mention of the old man. I have no voice anymore. I am only posting what he wants me to. I am the mask he uses to disguise himself as he lies.
11:55 a.m.
There's an entire video summary of a video I don't even remember doing. I'm reading through the summary and it sounds morbid, resembling my dream from 2 nights ago, except on a far more sadistic scale. These moon children, there's something more to them, almost as if they're another entity from Ben. Something happened last night that I can't remember. I'm posting the 4th summary to the forums now. The shadow of my chair moved.
12 p.m.
Ben won't let me visit YouTube. I can browse the rest of the sites, but he keeps on exiting the window when I go to YouTube. Why?
2:02 p.m.
I'm feeling like the air is starting to constrict. I don't think I'm alone here. Whatever aura has been here is getting more violent.
2:44 p.m.
I'm trying to contact Ben on Cleverbot, but he's not responding. I'm just getting the AI.
3:51 p.m.
My ears aren't fooling me. I'm hearing the reverse song of healing. I keep hearing it.
4:23 p.m.
Now I'm positive of it. Earlier I thought it was a weird coincidence, but just now I went to open my window and 3 floors down at ground level I saw the old man. I'm completely positive I did. It was the same guy. He was just staring up at my window, standing in the middle of campus. If any students took notice of him, they didn't seem to acknowledge it. And that's where the notes end. I fled my room, taking the cartridge with me. I don't want to go into details of what happened. I'll lose my train of thought as I hammer out these last details. It's been roughly 2 days since then. This is my last summary in service to you of the final video you guys saw. Matt.wmv. The last video entry I made Matt.WNV, began as normal. I was spawned in Clocktown as usual and nothing seemed to be out of place. Determined to set things right and play the oath to order on top of the clock tower on the 4th day, I prepared myself. I sped up time and got to the final day, making my way to the observatory. As I got up to the telescope room and approached the astronomer, he wouldn't let me look into the telescope. He told me that would be cheating and that I should follow the rules. Despite my repeated efforts, the game would not let me do the 4th day glitch. No matter how hard or what I tried working around the game and doing the glitch, but it was adamant this time. Regardless of if I simply had the illusion of free will in prior games, this time the game would become more aggressive than anything I've ever seen. Eventually it told me to go to Ikana Canyon, where the game would end and it would stop haunting me. Anxious and desperate to end this nightmare, I played the Song of Soaring and ended up there. I was told to check my inventory, that I would find the answers there to end the game. I arrived at Ikana Canyon and saved my progress at the owl statue. As I searched through my inventory, I finally noticed that I was missing a recurring song, the Elegy of Emptiness. Obviously, once I traveled there and learned the song, I suppose that it was the last thing I needed before Ben decided I had enough fun playing with me. Ben is a manipulator. He tries to fool his victims into security and makes you drop your guard like a Venus flytrap. He ensnares them. I am nothing but a puppet to him. He enjoys seeing what kind of human emotions he can tap into by doing different things. There are still some things that don't make sense about this whole experience. But then again, I was never really good at figuring out these things, and I'm not exactly in the right state of mind to anyway. I'm giving you guys all the pieces of the puzzle for you to analyze and piece together the missing links yourselves. I'm typing these closing thoughts on the library computer on campus, and I've emailed myself the notes I've stored on my infected computer from the last 4 days. I'm then going to combine those notes with the closings and openings I've typed here on the safe public computer into one text document. I'm not taking any chances spreading Ben. I would not wish this horrible torment on anyone, and I've made sure to have my bases covered here. I didn't run into any problems with Ben when I was back on my computer trying to email myself the notes. Went right under his fucking nose. He has no idea what he just let me do. I had no problems opening the text document from my infected computer in my email either. I can't describe to you how it feels to finally be able to get the word out in this post. The nightmare ends here. That said, do not download any of my videos or anything about my videos through a YouTube audio video ripper, screen grab, or whatever. I don't know how he can spread, but I know that just watching them on YouTube or reading my text won't be able to allow him to spread. Otherwise, he wouldn't have needed my help in the first place. But I strongly recommend you do not take anything you see streaming online to your own personal computer. This will be my last posting. I'm putting it up on this forum here for the world. If you see any further posts from me after today's current date, September 12th, and after the current time, 12:08 a.m., discredit them. It has already proven to me that Ben can access my account and password and manipulate my computer. And like I said, I have no idea to what extent it can do this. But I do know that it will do anything to break free. He is desperate. To ensure your safety, just forget about me. Please. And obviously this goes without saying, but from here on out, do not download any images I may have put up, any files, anything. This 5th day will be my last day. I'm gonna burn the cartridge and then come back to destroy my laptop. Again, even though I don't even know you, this is sort of bittersweet for me. This semester I really didn't have any friends, or rather I'd stopped paying attention to them. But I suppose that's partially to blame because I'm the genius who picked to live in a single. I suppose that if someone got a hold of me before I got too immersed into the game, would have literally saved my life. However, it proved too much for me. I'm just glad it happened to me, and I could get the warning out so that Ben dies here. Lastly, thank you for taking the time to open this and open yourselves up to me by hearing my story, despite maybe not believing me. You didn't have to do that, really. You shouldn't have. Your support this entire time has kept me going, and now I am finally free of this. Thank you all again. Jaduzable.